Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com/commanders. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Con Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a story up now about, of course, the return of Jayden Daniels, but also on Saturday about taking a look at the defense under Dan Quinn, some things that have changed, what might this mean for the future. So that'll be up on ESPN.com on Saturday. There you go. And of course, for you club members, be doing my little private Zoom 3 hours before kickoff. So 1 o'clock Eastern time, I'll be doing that with you all. So look for the link, join me there, and appreciate you as always. So there you go. Now I'm going to get to my 5 thoughts in a minute, sponsored by AAA. Get to that in a minute. But I was just a couple of little nuggets. Injury report. So you got Bobby Wagner's questionable. He was out of practice today on Friday. Noah Brown questionable, but that's only because they haven't taken him off IR yet. So once he's activated off that, I would expect that to come on Saturday, and then I would expect him to play on Sunday. And of course, Jayden Daniels will be starting on Sunday. I'm sure you know that by now, and I'll get into that in a minute, my 5 thoughts. Also, former Washington safety Darnell Savage was claimed by the Bills. They could use some safety help, and he was claimed. He was released by Washington earlier this week. Okay, so basically he asked for his release, but you kind of ask for your release knowing that you're going to get cut. You've been inactive, and they were bringing Will Harris back, so you knew how it was going to go for him. So Savage is now in Buffalo. So anyways, that's all we got for that. Let's get to my 5 thoughts, starting with Jayden Daniels is back, and this is a good thing. And I know people want him to be put in bubble wrap. That's not how you play this game. It's not ever how you will play this game. And when you have a dynamic quarterback, you're going to have to live with the good and the bad. And the only way he's going to learn how to protect himself, how to grow as a quarterback, is to be out there playing with 5 games left. As Dan Quinn said, it's almost 30% of their season. You can't just sit a guy for 30% of the year if he is healthy. So that's why there's a few reasons why they really want to see. Listen, man, you want to go into next year with him taking these reps. And I'm going to get to a comment from David Blough in a couple minutes that I think highlights that and what it could mean and what, when you look at the volume of what it could mean. But you want to get him into next year with those reps. If sure, okay, you could put him on bubble wrap now and he doesn't play, but you do not have the same quarterback going into next year that you can have now. These 5 games matter. There's a lot of stuff. You can talk to guys about what they see and go through, and there's still new things that they see, especially when you haven't started, facing a Minnesota defense on Sunday, getting to face Dallas and Philly again. That's a good thing for him. So I think all those things add up, and it's in going through the entire NFC East again is a good thing for him. Finish strong, but also learn some more things that you can take into next year that I think definitely can matter for him. I think it's funny because I was talking to somebody with the organization a few days ago that the Joe Burrow comments when he came back, Bengals are 3-8. Joe Burrow is equally important to the Bengals as Jayden Daniels is here. Why would you come back? What's there to play for? Because as he said, he's a football player. This is what he does. This is what they do. And the Jayden Daniels, I used to play this game for free. Basically, why wouldn't I play now when I'm getting paid? You're getting paid to do this. This is what you want to do. They have a deep passion for this. That's what you want. You want guys who will compete and who want to be out there, and especially in situations like this. So, as Daniel said, who's to say he's not going to be healthy going in? Because I asked him, hey, a lot of fans are a little bit concerned about you coming back. They don't want you to get hurt, et cetera. We know he's been hurt a couple times already this year. You don't want to see another injury, right? But as he said, who's to say I'm not going to be healthy going to next year? In other words, you don't know. And I think it's just very, very difficult to do anything but this. I think most people see that. I still see some comments from people who say oh, you can't play. I'm why? This is what, again, you talk to any player in that locker room, hey, this is what we do. And they talk to Terry McLaurin, Injury is 100% guaranteed when you play this game, especially when you're there for the long haul. We don't know what this means for Daniels in the future. We just know he's had an injury-filled year so far, and sometimes for whatever reason, right? It doesn't mean he's going to be that way next year, the year after, the year after. You don't know. There have been guys who don't run as much. Andrew Luck had a lot of injuries in his career. It happens at the position, it happens at any position, but you just can't say let's get to him to next year, because if you do that, like, it would be almost 10 months between games for him, because they don't play him a lot in the preseason, if at all, right? Though they haven't played him at all. They didn't play him at all last year, and I wouldn't expect it. So then his next meaningful rep is going into a year where you want things to go much better. That's not how you want to do it with coming off this. And I think the other thing, and I was talking to one player, like, I was talking to someone else too, like, he's a leader of the team. This is another player, the leader of the team. And guys like that want to be out there during the struggles. That's when you find out what teams are made of, what players are made of, et cetera. Like, are you willing to go out there in that? Now, if the team says if there's 2 games left, you shut them down because, like, you're really not going to get anything out of it. That's different. With 5 games left, it's really a wholly different situation, and it's a beneficial situation for him for sure. So, they put him through a battery of tests, like testing the contact. Now, that doesn't mean like tackling him or anything like that. There's no tackling in practice. The quarterbacks don't get hit in practice. But as they talked about functional movement, functional contact, just whatever that means, like hitting him with a bag or whatever, and just making sure that he can protect himself with that elbow and watching him. And it's funny because you put up video of it, and I'll put up some video here that you can watch him throwing in practice. And when you watch him, like, okay, the left elbow's tucked, but then watch the other quarterbacks. The other couple of days early last week, it was a little bit more tucked tighter, right? It was definitely more tucked, more tighter. But when you watch him on Friday and watching the other compared to other quarterbacks, they're using the same motion that he is. In other words, like, take a deep breath and relax. I don't know yet. One thing we don't know is, will he have to wear anything on the elbow on Sunday? And more doctors are having players wear stuff as precautionary when they're coming back, not because they're still hurt, but just for whatever reason, right? But so I don't know the answer to that yet. And I know people are asking, and we should have asked them that today. Failure on our part. Asked them a lot of other things, but not that. So we'll find out Sunday about that. But there was a chance of that happening for sure. So, and again, all these guys know how this game goes. Like, Ryan Kerrigan played a long time without getting hurt. And then he did. And it's funny because you watch him walk around now and you can still see that the knee is just, one knee is swollen up and just like needs surgery at some point, probably going to get replaced. Not there yet. Terry McLaurin, healthy this year. One injury that just lingered. So stuff happens in this game, and it happens to everybody at some point. The good thing for Washington is that Daniels has not been a reckless player. Like we saw when Robert was here, he was definitely more reckless when he ran, and he would get creamed at the end of runs. It's like with Daniels, like these hits are the injury against Seattle, just a bad fall. More so than oh my God, a brutal hit, a bad fall. Now also needed to hand it off or just throw it away. And that's something that's a learning situation. The one against Dallas, free rusher, and you hurt your hamstring. Green Bay, you get hit in the helmet by a helmet in the knee. And so, but I didn't view him as being reckless. Now, if he's going back to some of his LSU days where he's trying to hurdle the line, that's a little bit different. We haven't seen that. So, but I do think what he has to understand and what they want him to understand is the value, his importance to the organization and understanding down and distance. I don't think they're going to sit there and say, they're not going to be in the headset saying before the snap, okay, don't forget, don't run or just throw the ball away. They're going to have to trust that he knows third and 10, second quarter, own 20, whatever, be smart. If it's there, take it. But if not, just live to play another down. Like understanding the situational football for him is key. 38-7, you don't need to run and try and score. Hand it off, throw it away. You don't need to run there because that's when you start to see the growth. And we've already seen that with him. Like we've seen him keep his eyes upfield. We've seen him run a little bit less on some of the plays that he did last year and just like instead of taking the sack, throw it out of bounds, right? So I think like he's better with that. And I think he'll continue to be better because he's smart. And I think, and he also understands football. So I think they trust him and he trusts them in coming back. And this was not a Dan Quinn saying, okay, you get out there. It's Dan Quinn, it's Adam Peters, it's Josh Harris. Josh Harris was well informed about what was going on with this. It's the medical team. It's Jayden's side. It's his agents. It's Jayden. It's, others in the family know, right? Like, because that's just how they want it to operate. So this is a big decision by a lot of people, just understanding what's going on here. So I think this is all a good thing. But I think, like as Terry McLaurin said, this is a good chance for those two to work on their timing on deep balls, on other throws that where the timing just wasn't there. It's a good way to finish the season. Like you want them to, you're not going to carry, if they win the last 5, and I'm not saying they would or should, but if they did, like, I don't know how much you're going to carry that through, but you're going to feel a lot better. And you're going to feel a lot better watching this group work together and letting him have some finish. It may be difficult right away. Like last time against Seattle, there were things that he was just a little bit off on because it was his first game back. Like I'm kind of expecting that on Sunday, but there's a way to soften that. But this is a good thing for them and for him. But anyways, here's what David Blough said about why these 5 games are important.
Development.
How important it's 5 games, like how important is that for his development?
Very, because when you think about it, call it 330 reps, if we're getting, whatever it is, call it 330 reps. And that's going to be 170 pass attempts, that he needs to see coverage and be able to pull from the Rolodex in the future going forward of him trusting his teammates, of him playing the position at a high level. And I think it's really important for him to be out there and just go for it in a big way. And I think our guys are going to like, the result.
Hey, Commanders fans, want to make every drive a winning one? With the AAA Commanders MVP membership, you'll get trusted AAA roadside assistance, score Commanders gear with 15% off at the online pro shop, ticket giveaways, and exclusive team experiences. Whether it's game day or a weekend getaway, AAA keeps Commanders fans covered at home or on the road. Upgrade your current membership or join the team today at AAA.com/Commanders and drive like an MVP every day. All right, number 2, the band is back together. That's what Jayden Daniels said, and that's what we're going to see with Daniels out there, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and yes, Noah Brown. I know what you're going to say, but he is going to play, and I think, and he can be a very good receiver for them. And whatever you think about him for the future here, this is a good thing for them now, especially with Daniels coming back. It just adds more guys who can hurt a team along with Trey Burke. So now you have 4 legitimate NFL receivers out there. And this is the first time in a long time you could say that about this team. And so, that's a really good thing for Daniels to come back to with an offensive line that is coming off a really good game against Denver. So this is going to be a tough game against Minnesota for Daniels, like I said, just to get that rhythm back. And this is the looks they present, the blitzes, the pressure. You have to have a very good game plan. And again, I'll get to some of that in a minute, but I do think that this is a big deal for them. And I think for Brown to be back, like I said, I think he complements McLaurin very well, and McLaurin appreciates that for sure. And so, in fact, this is what Terry had to say about that.
I've known Noah for a long time, and I've seen him overcome a lot of injuries, even one dating back in college where he broke his leg, and then he came back and scored 4 touchdowns the next year against Oklahoma. And he's battled injuries throughout the course of his career, and even when he got a little banged up in OTAs, I was texting with him and just encouraging him, like, God's going to continue to heal him, and he's going to come back better. And I think I respect the hell out of his resiliency, because not too many guys can go through what he's been through and continue to fight back. And he was an undrafted guy, so he earned his role in this league in special teams, doing the dirty work. He was blocking, and he's got an opportunity to show that he's a great receiver as well. And so we're just looking forward to having him back out there. I know he makes our team and our room better, and he really gives us another viable option on the outside who can win one-on-one matchups. So I've just tried to encourage him, be somebody that he can to lean on, and he's been somebody I can lean on as well, the personal relationship we have. And it's just good to see him back out there and feeling like himself. And injuries are hard for all of us in the league, but when you're able to have the support system and come back better on the other side, it's a really good feeling. So yeah, Noah, I'm looking forward to having him back out there. I don't know if it's official yet, but he's definitely in a good space, and it's good to see that mentally and physically.
Terry, when he's out there, how does he complement what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it allows us to really have another guy on the outside who can win one-on-one matchups. I think him and I really work in tandem when we're maybe in 2 receiver sets, where I can maybe take the top off a little bit, and it just allows him to work the middle of the field. And I think he has one of the best footwork skill sets in our room. And I think he does a great job of attacking the football as well. So, I think the great thing about it is now we have more guys back. It's not going to all fall on one person. And also we got multiple guys who can make the play and who are going to open it up for other people. And so I'm just looking forward to him getting his opportunities this week. And if I got to clear it out or take some attention away so he can get his one-on-one matchup, that's what I'm going to do. And I know he'll do the same.
This is the healthiest this team has been in a while. So it's not just on offense, but primarily on offense, because really the guy you're missing at this point is Austin Eckler. Now, obviously, Luke McCaffrey's not out there, but you've got Trey Burks. Now, McCaffrey helped them in other ways more than he did as a receiver, so you miss him on the team. But you look at the offense, like he wasn't a central part to that offense. Eckler was, but he's really the one guy missing. So you look at I'll say this, it's too bad they didn't win some of those close games, because you could have been looking at a good playoff push down the stretch led by this offense. But if nothing else, if you can be highly competitive and this offense looks really good, that's what you want to see to close the season. So they are in good shape now offensively, offensive line better, Cosme getting back to himself. What this also does is it allows Zach Ertz and Deebo Samuel to work more underneath. And I think with Ertz, like one thing that was, to me, was jumping out when you didn't have the explosiveness at receiver or running back in the pass game, that you wanted it more from the tight ends, because those are the healthy guys. But Ertz continues to plug along and continues to produce, and it's going to, like, his contributions will look a little bit different. Like, you don't need the explosion from him. You need the steadiness from him, the red zone work from him, but you need the explosion from McLaurin, or getting something from Noah Brown if you can get that, or Deebo on a catch and run, whatever. But now you have more options that you can do that, which again helps Jayden Daniels. Number 3, okay, this is one thing. The locker room is very, very good still, despite being 3-9. And so, I think the culture stuff sometimes can get a little bit not overrated, but I think talked about way too much here, especially here. And we had 4 years of culture, and we're kind of back to that. But I will say, one thing that jumps out to me when watching this team, and I was watching the practice on Friday, I said something to Bram, like, the way they practice, the level of energy and all that, you couldn't tell the difference between this team and last year's team. And that's a good thing. And like, I was talking to a player about this in the locker room too. Like, you go in the locker room, a lot of times in the past, you would have guys that just scatter. Like, there are times like, who are you even going to talk to? And there's 4 or 5 weeks left. And this was true for a couple, during, Gruden's year last year, or that last year there, or the last year with Ron. Like, guys don't want to be in the locker room. Like, they just want to season 2 get over. It doesn't mean doesn't mean they're not trying during a game, but you do know, like, it's just not, it's like they're done, right? They just want the season to be over. And I was talking to one player about this. I said he's been on other teams in this situation where you can just tell, like, guys have started to give up. Like he said, like, some guys that he's been on teams where guys would show up and you could smell on their breath that they've been drinking or had been drinking at some point, or like maybe there's some finger pointing in the locker room, or guys don't want to be in there. And yet with this team, you still see it. And I bring that up because I think it's important when, again, people talk about draft positioning and all that. What I'm telling you is more important than getting the 5th, 7th, or 8th pick. So, because you need to have that. If you want to rebound from a bad year, you want a situation like this. And I was talking to another player about this too. And I'm going to try and, what did he say? He goes, he told me, he's like, I guarantee you there are teams with worse records, or better, not worse. He said, I guarantee you there are teams with better records who are in worse shape when it comes to this. And because these guys have all played on it. Just having a good record does not guarantee good situation like that. And so at some point you get that, and it can kind of fall apart if you don't have that foundation eventually, right? Now, you're not hanging banners for having great culture. You're just not. I know that. But because the goal is to win, make no mistake about that. And I'm sure you're sitting there saying, like, I don't give a bleep, just win games. And I get it, because that's the goal here. But I'm talking about this in relation to next year, and how do you get out of the muck of this year? It's by having this. Like, that gives you a chance. Like, if they didn't have this and you went into next year off of a bad year, I'm telling you, and I've said this multiple times, and I was talking to another player the other day about this, like, hey, the player told me, it's like, if this finishes bad and we start off 0-3 next year, jobs are already on the line. And it puts the organization in a really bad spot. And again, like, you may love that 5th pick, but that team will be starting over sooner than later. And that's not what you want. You want to bring a guy into a situation that's much better. But that's why the culture aspects matter. And I think that's what again, in a year like this, you really start to learn about guys. And as Dan Quinn talked about, standards and the foundation and all that. And I do believe that that's important. And, again, you're not hanging a banner for it. Still 3-9. I know you'd much rather see them be 9-3 and having maybe look at the Eagles. Like, they've had those issues, but they always seem to bounce out of it. That's just a different organization. They seem to live in chaos and thrive in it. I don't know that that's how, listen, it's been sustainable for them. It's not sustainable for a lot of teams over the years. And so you want to have this that you can build up. There were times in here, and even under when Gruden was here, where they had very good locker rooms, but you didn't have the talent, or you didn't have the front office. You didn't have this. You didn't have the quarterback, that like of this caliber. And so you couldn't really build off that. And it's like last year, absolutely a part of the reason why they won was, of course, Jayden Daniels, but then the type of guys that they have here, and just like that, the brotherhood becomes a little bit cliche, but I think they fully are invested in that. And so again, when you want to bounce out of a bad situation, you have that kind of stuff. And, I think that's why somebody else told me the brotherhood is real. So take that for what it's worth. But again, if you want to build on for 2026, you want this. But next year, I would say you better win. All right, number 4. I think Jacob Martin has been a solid player for them, and probably one of the guys that came here who has done exactly what you would hope for, right? And I know he's played a bigger role than people expected, or maybe he came here to be a situational pass rusher. He's more than topped his career high in snaps because of the injuries. Dorrance Armstrong, and obviously, Baptiste and Dietrich Wise. So all that stuff is like why he's had to play a lot more. But he's 29 years old. I think he's a guy that I would bring back, because I think he fits here very well. I think he's shown that he can definitely help, and we've seen that. So again, he was signed to be a backup, but he's had to play starter minutes. He has a career high 4.5 sacks. We're not talking Pro Bowler, but for a guy who's like a role player for them and a backup player for them, I think he's done a solid job. And I think he's shown that he can help you and that he can play. And let's see, he's had a career best pass rush. He's never been more double team more in his career than he has this year, almost 30% of the time. So, but he's had the second most pressures of his career, most quarterback hits, most snaps he's ever played again. So again, he's only 29. I think he's been a guy who's been very solid. I think he's a smart player. I remember talking to him earlier in the year where I talked about asking him if he wanted to coach down the road. And so that might be something he does. Because I think sometimes you just talk to guys like, yeah, this guy could be a future coach. And I think he's one of those types of guys. Anyways, I spent a couple minutes with him. Here's what he had to say. You get those opportunities. What are you seeing now from yourself that you're like, this is a result of those opportunities? Is there a move? Is there things that you're doing that with those opportunities that you're able to do?
Really just the ability to trust what I see and them trust me to trust what I see. You know what I mean? Give me that opportunity to play that way, and trusting the guys around me. I know DP and JK and Vaughn and Big Shell and all the dudes Jay-Z, all the guys that are out there with me, man. They do a great job in playing their techniques, man. So I trust those guys to be where they need to be, man. And they trust me in terms of when I got a key on something or a clue on a direction of the play. that's kind of how we rock.
Is there anything like are there a couple plays that like this is a result of that? Do you have that in your head? Like,
Dude, truthfully, one of the ones that sticks in my mind, man, is that remember in the Spain game where I missed that tackle on that fucking language on that jet sweep, bro. Yes. That was one of the ones I knew that was the play, and we didn't get. I just got to make that, man. You know what I mean? So like, there's situations like that where that's happened a couple times. But other than that, man, I've been pretty spot on calling whether. Because for a while, man, me and KEIM weren't getting a lot. They weren't, teams weren't running the ball to us for a while. You know what I mean? So when we have those ops where we know we're gonna get some action, I'll let them know, like, yo, we got action right here. Like we can go make a play right here. So just having those ops, man, and listening to the guys and their film study and trusting what they see and our ability to, whether we're at Vaughn's house on Thursday nights or we're here Wednesday mornings breaking down the tape together. Really just understanding that process of what we're looking at. Everyone has their own keys. You know what I mean? But if I know that if we can watch the film together, he can tell me what he's keying on this play, and I can tell him what I can key on this play, and we can marry those together. Then we can figure out a direction or have a better educated guess on what we think they're trying to do.
Are you guys watch film together every week?
Yeah.
And usually at Bond's house, or?
Yeah, well, typically at Bond, we typically have like a dinner, watch the Thursday night football game, maybe talk about the rush plan or the game plan. Yeah, we'll do it like that. We're doing it like that for a while. It may not be every week just because people have life goes on and stuff like that, but we try to get together as much as we can to share our thoughts on what we're thinking in terms of game plan, rush plan, ways we think that they may attack us, certain blocks that we may see, certain runs that we may get, even though a team may not be a gap team or a outside zone team or something like that, or a crack toss team, whatever the case may be. It's a copycat league, so we know whatever hit us the week before, they may sprinkle that in if they don't have it. You know what I mean? So
it's pretty good that you guys still I know guys don't just quit, right? Yeah. But the fact that you guys continue to do that says it's
a testament to this team, man. It's a testament to the way these guys work, man, and the belief they have in this brotherhood, man. Like I've been on a lot of teams where they claimed a brotherhood, but here's it's actually embodied brotherhood. You know what I mean? Like whether someone's calling you out for not doing your job or for doing your job great. You know what I mean? It's both sides of those coins, man. And no one ever takes it personally. You know what I mean? It's not like a personal attack on you or on your manhood or nothing like that, man. But it's the mission that we're trying to accomplish. It's bigger than all of us. You know what I mean? So obviously, unfortunately, it's unfortunate how things have shaken out this year with the injuries and stuff like that, and having guys down and trying to battle with guys or bringing in new guys to try to bring them along. So it's been an interesting year, man. But I will say this, man: the brotherhood has never wavered.
Commanders fans, your fandom just got an upgrade. Introducing the AAA Commanders MVP membership, where real fans get real perks and the same trusted AAA membership benefits. The new AAA Commanders membership provides the chance to win game tickets, access to VIP events and experiences, 15% off at the Commanders Online Pro Shop, while providing peace of mind for Commanders fans on the road. Already a AAA member? Don't sit on the sideline. Upgrade your membership or join today at AAA.com/Commanders. All right, finally, number 5. Clearly, folks, this is a winnable game. But this is a very good defense Minnesota has. So this team has played some really good defenses lately. I mean, Denver, very good defense. Miami, they're whatever. Kansas City, Seattle, very, very good defenses. So, this is just yet another one, but they don't have the offense. But let's stick with the defense for a minute. They love to, I'm only talking a couple minutes because we know that the matchup this isn't about the match. This is about Jayden Daniels and all that. But along with that, they will blitz the heck out of Daniels because that's what they do. And they blitz like 61% of the time since their bye week, I think, which was in week 7. So they will blitz, they'll rush from all over. They love to show 7, rush 5, drop 2, but which 2 are dropping? And I think that's the key. the linebacker Eric Wilson, he's a really good player, very good pass rusher. They will blitz him a lot. Now, he often lines up like he's going to blitz. And if you want a little bit, one thing I noticed when I was watching him, you can kind of tell when he's coming. Now, when you're watching the coach's film, you can kind of tell because you slow it. It's like, oh, let's see how he is. His weight is going to be a lot more, his weight's going to be on his front foot, but when it's heavy on his front foot, he's blitzing. So but again, like, can they tell that in a game? Might be hard to tell. Can you tell that on TV? Might be hard to tell, but look for it. If he looks like he's leaning forward, but it's not heavy, probably going to drop. So, but he is a good pass rusher, and they do cause problems because they will blitz. They'll blitz the safeties, right, and coming off the edge. So the key is like just you're trying to get rid of and they're really good at not only blitzing but dropping into some of the areas that they think you're going to throw to. So they're just a good defense. It gives you a lot of looks. That's going to make it difficult. So you may hold the ball, but you better have a plan for this. And I think part of the plan has to be running the ball. But by the way, John Allen playing for them looks a little bit like he did last year when you watch him, where you can see him like he'll have some plays where he influences a play. In the games I watch and even talk to someone there, it's like he's not making any flash plays. He's not like jumping out. And I would go back to the signing of Javon Kinlaw versus the signing of Allen. Like Allen can still be an effective player, obviously. Kinlaw's done a really nice job here for a lot less of the cap space. And even next year, it'll be like $5 million less in cap space. So, and if Kinlaw were coming off this year, what he's going to get paid for next year is what he would get. Like he hasn't been this dominant all-pro player, but he's been a consistent player. And there's some areas where he struggles with, and some areas where he gets upright. When he's got a slant away from the ball, or when the ball is going to the side or whatever, he's got chase, he might get upright and get driven out by a double team coming at him. He's going to play with all that strength that he has. But the bottom line is, like, they've certainly been okay with him. And it's for a lot less of the cap space than what Minnesota has with Allen, who is still, again, can be effective, but he's not just jumping out at you and playing at a Pro Bowl level either. But this is a tough game to have a quarterback play in his first game. So the key is try to limit the mistakes, but also run the ball, because they did a really nice job last week against Denver. I think they even surprised themselves, but because Denver has a really good run defense, they were able to stick with it. I think the key here for the run game is patience. The patience, because Minnesota will give up. They've given up a lot of 10+ yard runs, right? So they rank probably bottom third in that area, but they've also had among the most tackles for a loss because they are aggressive coming up the field. Like those linebackers are coming up. So if you can press and cut, you have a chance to break through that line and get a 10 to 15 yard gain. When I was watching some of those 10-yard gains over the last few weeks, they're not exactly clean. So their backs making a play. Chris Rodriguez, I think, is good for this. The way his ability to break tackles, I think and he's done a nice job with that. So I would certainly try to run him with that. You can block it up, at least get one guy and have him make a guy miss and run through a tackle, because they are close to those all the time. Like they do a really good job in that area, but they do give up some of those. And that's where you're going to have to just move it and grind it out that way. Hit them with a couple big plays. Their safeties will play a little bit closer than a lot of teams because they're anticipating the ball coming out fast because of the blitzes, because of the pressure. The corners will play with vision and break down on the ball. But, so the key for the receivers, like a guy like McLaurin coming off a good game against Patrick Surtain, I think I would say this, like if you're McLaurin and that you're facing in your first game back one of the best corners, and he did a really good job. So I think that fueled his confidence. Like when you've missed some games and you started slow, you're going to question that a little bit. That I think helped him get his confidence back. The key in this game, closing the gap with those receivers and really kind of pushing, basically getting on their feet, right? Closing that space. And I think they can do that. The key is getting the time to do it, picking up that blitz, but it's got to start with running the ball well and staying patient with it, because, and this is where the defense has to come into play and allow them to stick with that. Because if you don't, and it gets into a lot of 3rd and 10s and 3rd and longs, they're going to tee off. And that's what you do not want to happen, not for injury reasons, for strategic reasons, because that's going to make it much harder on Daniels. And that's when you start to get turnovers or issues. But yeah, the run D is very good, but it's a tough, rugged runs. There aren't a lot of clean looks because they will be aggressive Just be patient. On offense, folks, it's all about making JJ McCarthy try to beat you, because it will be a struggle if he has to do that. He and Justin Jefferson have not hooked up. Like McCarthy's QBR when targeting Justin Jefferson is 12.4. That's out of 100. That is the lowest. That's one of the worst in the NFL with any quarterback receiver combo, but it's also the worst on the Vikings. His completion percentage is 53.1% when he targets Jefferson. He's thrown 6 of his 10 interceptions when targeting Jefferson. So stud receiver, but man, that dude needs a quarterback in the worst way. And so that's going to be a challenge. Now, McCarthy struggled against man coverage, but one thing this team has done well the last 2 weeks, play a lot of zone, using their vision. I think that's where Mikey Sarenstill really is much better in zone, coming off a very good game, much better in zone there. So keep that vision, right? And Jones can do that as well. And I think it also, if you've noticed, they've done a good job disguising coverages. And there are definitely times where it looks like that's a cover 3 or it looks like a cover 3 rotating to a Tampa 2 with a corner dropping one of it and the safety coming up instead of a linebacker dropping Tampa 2. So there's a lot of things that they're doing. And with McCarthy, if you can get him to hold the ball for that split second, because they did it with Bo Nix. Bo Nix used his legs to get out of there, and that's one thing you have to guard against, because McCarthy can move too. But he also will step up in the pocket and overshoot guys. He's not the most accurate passer. And so I think that's something to watch too. There are definitely times where he threw a pick 6 against Chicago. Sometimes if you have good coverage on the outside, he'll throw it too far on the inside. He's not, I think Daniels is a much more accurate passer. And McCarthy just is struggling in that area. Sometimes it's the pressure that's getting to him. Sometimes he's still a young quarterback. But I also think that you can force him into things if you can get to him a little bit of pressure. Make sure you get your coverage. Do not let them get off early. Do not let them get confidence early, because if you do, then you let that defense, you give them a lead, the defense starts to take over. Now it's going to be a long day in that stadium. It's a great stadium. It's very loud, but I think that's something you just have to make sure it doesn't take over for sure. So, but again, they can run the ball. They just don't run it a lot, partly because they fall behind a lot. Like Jordan Mason's is a nice back, leads them in rushing, but he's only had one game of more than 10 carries once in the last 6 or 7 weeks. So this team that's going to want to throw, and I'm sure they'll test these guys on the ground. Why wouldn't you? I would do the same thing, because you don't want to put it all on McCarthy, even though of course that's what these guys want to do. But by the way, this team liked McCarthy coming out. This team was debating who was their number 2 behind Jayden Daniels, whether it's Caleb or JJ. And it's funny because I think clearly now it would be Drake May for any team. And I would still take Daniels, but anyways, but the point is ahead of where JJ is. But I know before the draft, even people in New England would tell you they heard that a lot too. Not everybody, people thought Drake May was raw. But with JJ, I think that, there's the intangible. Why teams like McCarthy's got those intangibles, but man, you got to produce as a quarterback, and he's just not as accurate right now to do that. Will that be Sunday? You better not. They can't let that happen. This is a game they have a good chance to break that 7-game losing streak. Anyway, folks, that's it from me. I will talk to you after the game. You club members, join me before the game, 3 hours. But everybody else, I'll be back after the game, wrapping up the Commanders-Vikings. Jayden Daniels, first start back. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time.